This is the Mind Your Business podcast, episode number 16.
Today's bonus episode is a listener-generated question of the week, where we'll answer the question, how both Phoebe and I earned our first dollar on the internet. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, and I've built a 7-figure internet business that offers the financial freedom to do what I want, when I want. And I'm the first to say that hard work and hustle are not essential ingredients for your success. So, how do you build a thriving business from the inside out? This is the Mind Your Business podcast, featuring myself and co-host Phoebe Mroczek. Well, hello, listeners. My name is James Wedmore.
I'm Phoebe Mroczek.
And we're coming to you with a very special, quick and easy bonus episode. We're trying something here a little new over on the Mind Your Business podcast, where we have a question of the week from one of our listeners. This submission is from Mariela Cabezas. Oh boy, Mariela, please, if I mess that up, I'm so sorry. Here's what Mariela asks. I am enjoying the podcast very much. Thank you. And I listen to all the episodes, although they're not always aimed at the stage I am currently at. I haven't started my business yet. I'm learning all that I can about social media, online business, etc. in order to become a freelance social media manager. I still find a lot of value in the content, since some of the things I can relate and some don't relate. But still, I would love to hear about your beginnings more. I listened to the How I Hit $1 Million episode and was thinking about that, but how did you earn that first $1? That is what I would love to hear. So we kind of just threw this question on each other, and we haven't really scripted or planned out our answer. Phoebe, do you want to go first? Where did you, you've come so far, but where did you start? Can you take us back to the beginning?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge Mariela. Thank you for your question. So I started 2 years ago in the summer of 2014, and I was having a conversation with a woman in London about her business. So she had an MLM business and multi-level marketing, and she wasn't sure how to promote her business. And so she asked me if I could train her team, and I said yes. And she said, "Do you have a business?" I said yes. And at the time, I did not have a business. I did not have a business name. I had never done that before, but I just knew that I could figure it out. And so I started training her team, and then that did not lead into any money, but later on down the road, because I didn't actually sell anything, I was just being nice. And once I got that experience of actually holding webinars, I decided to start with Facebook ads and to teach something that I knew how to do. And then
wait a second. Hold on. I'm going to just call you out here. This is a big jump. So were you doing webinars with the MLM stuff?
I had researched all the webinar software to use. And so, yeah, I had done a couple, just free trainings for these women. So it was 50 women that would get on consistently for about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And then where does Facebook ads come into it?
Well, and then I started to realize I really liked it. There was a high of doing webinars that I really enjoyed. I liked having people live that could ask me questions. And I really liked putting the presentations together. So I wanted to teach something I knew, which at the time was Canva. And I have no design background, but I just figured a lot of people liked my presentations, my keynote slides, and so I could teach on that. And I said, I don't know enough people in this area. How could I go about doing that? And actually, I feel like this is where you come in. I had started working inside Real Marketing Insider and had seen what Facebook ads had done for your business. And so that's when I started to put out Facebook ads. And
told the story before of how we met.
Right.
You sent me the most obnoxious Facebook message ever. We should have brought it up beforehand, but it was basically hey, you don't know me, but you have a bunch of typos on your website. Okay,
so the funny thing is, it depends on the way that you actually say it. Because in my head, it was hi, excuse me? Mr. Wedmore, sir?
Oh, gosh.
You have a couple typos, and I want to help you. So there is that.
Yeah, it was you have a typo. And I was so glad I kept reading, because it was I would like to fix them and see if there's any way that I could work for you and help you.
Actually, hold on. Okay. I didn't even say work for you. I just said I would be very happy to proofread all your pages for free. Oh. And that was it. And
that's not what I heard. I heard
exactly.
new employee.
Right.
I was like, let's get on a phone. And I said, we had just finished the first launch for 48 Hour Film School. We'd literally just come off of that. I had fired somebody in the middle of that launch. It was a bumpy road. And I was like, there's a position I need. I pretty much hired you on the spot.
Well, you wrote me an email right back from your Gmail account, and you said, nobody works for me for free. Are you looking for a position? And I said, okay, well, let's get on Skype. And I like ran home, was like primping, because I was like, oh my God, is this video? Is this not? And when we got on, the first question you asked was, why did you send me that email? And I just said, well, because I know if I was in your position and I had the reach that you had and the audience that you had, I would want to know if there were typos on my website. And maybe that struck a chord with you or something, but that's how the conversation started.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay.
So I hired you pretty much on the spot for a position that we invented together called the community manager of our membership program, Real Marketing Insider. So take us from...
Yeah, so I just started to get to know the community. I went in, and one of the first posts I posted inside the Real Marketing Insider community, I spelled real, R-E-A-L. So I was like, well, maybe I need to get in the actual content and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing here. So I just started going through all the courses, because obviously when I'm inside of the dashboard, I can go through all the courses myself and all the material. So
you felt bad.
I did. Well,
I love that.
I know I was going to pay for it. And then I talked to your assistant at the time and just said, I'm not really sure how to go about doing this. And she goes, oh, well, I'll just throw you a couple credits and go for it and unlock it. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, now I don't have to feel so bad. But I realized that it was really, my responsibility, my duty to understand the content. And so I just binged watched everything, all the courses and whatnot, just to learn what was going on. And I was really new at the time, and I didn't know. I was in the travel blogging community at that point. And so I had seen the Facebook ad course and was like, you know what, I'm going to try this out and see what happens and teach something, that you always talk about, teaching what you know. I was like, well, I know Canva because I use it all the time for these women. Let's just try to teach that. And so I put out a couple ads, and that's when I was getting ads for like a couple cents. It was crazy. Amazing. And I had 1,200 people sign up for my webinar.
1,200 people registered for a webinar.
Yeah, on Canva, on a free software.
And then I remember you told me about that. I was like, what did you sell? And you're like, nothing.
Well, I was like, I'm going into my third, because I had a three-part series. You're like, well, what are you selling on the end of it? I'm like, well, nothing. I'm like, well, I've given 2 like really good, really positive webinars, and everyone loves it. Yeah. You're like, well, no. We're not getting off the phone until we create something for you to sell. And we just walked through it, and I sold a $60 Canvas.
$60. I mean,
Canvas strategy pack, and I had the whole thing scripted, the whole sales part of it, because I was so nervous. And I remember you saying, mark this date down, because the day that you make your first dollar is a day you'll never forget. And I was probably too scared to call you at the time, but I just remember you kept checking in with me, like, how is it going? Because I had the cart open for 7 days, and I was like, oh my God, I just made $3,300.
This is great, because this was a point in time where I started like seeding, like planting little seeds in your mind of like, well, yeah, you can have all the strategies you want, but there's something deeper and something more magical about like visualizing and believing and manifesting and creating. And you just were like, I experienced you as this like empty bucket that just was like begging to be filled in. Like I have so many people I've talked to about this, and they're like the ego or the pride gets in the way, and they don't want to be coachable. They want to like kind of put on like, I got this, and you were just like so open to it. I'm remembering this now. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, especially now hearing it for the first time from your perspective. So you did $3,300 on this first Canva promotion for
$60 product, and
that's amazing.
I know exactly where I was. I know I was in Berlin in this apartment, and I was literally jumping up and down.
So is it true that like you really won't forget that?
Oh, I mean, that is such a moment like burned in my memory, because I remember thinking it wasn't even that was so much money. It was just like, oh my God, I did it. It worked. I listened, I actioned, and here it is with the result. And I went out for many cocktails after that. It was just like, I am so rich. It doesn't even, I can blow all this money. I did it, and that was so awesome.
I love it. And then you've gone on from there. You did your Facebook ads, or you just Facebook.
Oh, I did a marketing. Facebook program. Yeah. And then that was $10,000.
And we told that story.
Yeah.
And you wrote down $10,000. You put it everywhere.
Yeah.
And you hit it.
I hit it. And then the Facebook ads one was 17. And that was same thing. Just staying the course, knowing I could do it, and just yeah, just putting everything, you know, I know in our previous episodes, one of the things that Denise says is, Denise Duffield Thomas, is like throw everything at it. And that's really what I was doing. And there I am.
So awesome. Thank you for sharing. And then, you know, since then we've done a lot more work together, like the Mastermind, this podcast, and working more on Real Marketing Insider, our membership program. Okay.
Let's talk about you.
My turn. So the first thing I want to point out here as we ask this question, like, well, how was that first dollar, is that if you're looking for an answer of like, I need the strategy to make my first dollar, you're not going to get it here. And if someone promises you that they're going to give it to you, I'd probably run. The first thing is I've drawn out a Venn diagram, which is like the 3 circles that overlap each other. And there's like a piece in the middle that becomes your sweet spot. And each one of these circles, I have 3 things, or 1 thing in each circle. The first one is love. Second one is money. And then the other one is, I didn't really come up with anything clever. It just says good at. And so at the end of the day, like, I always like to start with people checking in with, what do they love doing? What are they so passionate about? What is something that can or will or does make them money? And what is something that they're good at? And start there, because in the middle is the sweet spot. And that's the secret of this. And you may, first of all, not know what that is. So just play around with it and keep asking the question. Stay in the question, stay in the question, stay in the question. Don't worry about the answer yet. What do I love right now? It doesn't have to be, what do I love in 20 years? What do I love right now? What am I enjoying right now? What am I kind of good at? What am I a little bit better than everybody else at, or at least one person that? And what is something I could make money with? What is it I've made money with in the past? What are people offering to pay me for? You know, and start there. And what you're going to see is that the ultimate theme, if you ask any entrepreneur, except Mark Zuckerberg maybe, is that this concept of leapfrogging, in that if we talk about entrepreneurship as a journey, every project, opportunity, whatever, is a step in the journey to get you to that next closer place. And it really is a leapfrog effect. You know, Phoebe gets exposure into the MLM world, which allows her to learn about webinars. Then she, you know, gets exposure to me and learns about how to sell on a webinar and how to do Facebook. And all of a sudden, one thing leads to the next. And I have done this in my business, where I look back at how everything created the next thing, which created the next thing, which created the next thing. And it gives me chills. I really come from a belief that what I'm doing right now, everything I did up until this moment led to now.
Right.
That everything that I was doing, whether it worked or didn't at the time, was preparing me for now. So you kind of come from it as like, well, what is it I'm doing now that's preparing me for the next thing? Because it is really this never-ending journey. However, you know, here I am, this entrepreneurial philosopher that's not answering your question. I'm just giving like esoteric, you know, ideas and concepts. So I'll answer the question, and to say that April 18th, 2008 was the day I made my first sale on the internet. And I sold a program called Bartend for Profit, because at the time, I didn't love bartending. I loved that I was a bartender and I was getting paid to get people drunk. That was kind of fun. That was fun to say in my early 20s, you know, and it made cash. I was good at it. I actually was good at it.
We've seen the YouTube videos.
You can Google me. You can Google James Wedmore Bartender on YouTube, and you will find some stuff to, you know, make fun of me about. So I sold an online bartending program, but I want to take a step back. Okay, so I sold a course on how to bartend for $200 to a customer in, I think it was Arlington or Austin. No, it wasn't Austin. I think it was Arlington, Texas, or San Antonio, Texas, on April 18, 2008. That was the day that like forever changed me. Now, a couple things here. First of all, little story is that the 4 or 5 months leading up to that were just like the gauntlet of hell for me. I had always been an entrepreneur growing up. Like, you know, I have sold stuff online, I guess. I was doing eBay ever since eBay was around, but this is the first real thing. But those months leading up to it, I wrote a 230 page book, formatted it, created graphics, built a website myself, read a 900 page book on Dreamweaver twice so I could learn how to create the website. I mean, a lot of work went into this. I got addicted to my sister's Adderall. I got down to 140 pounds. My friends just abandoned me, which rightfully so. I'm not blaming them. You know, I just like ignored them. My girlfriend broke up with me. I was living at home. I was rolling out of bed, popping Adderall, and working 14-hour days. and going back to bed, waking up and doing it over again. 3 months straight, I built the entire business by myself and made that first sale. So it was a pretty rewarding thing. However, one thing, and this is a lot of why I teach what I do and why we're coming out with this podcast, is because I experienced the worst of the worst of pushing yourself. Yeah, hustle, work hard. And I was like, wait a second, like we can do that same effort that would have taken. I could start a whole new business on how to bartend today, and in 3 weeks, I could have something live launching, making me money. 3 weeks. That was like 3 or 4 months of murdering myself. And this would be like 3 weeks casually, like boop, 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 you know. And yes, technology's gotten better, but we've gotten better at how we work. So yada, 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 all the while in the back of my head, because all these people just doubted me. I loved it, by the way. I loved that people doubted me. I had one person, when I finally built the website and had a video on there, they literally laughed at me in front of all these people. They laughed at me. And I'm just like, I loved it secretly. Yeah. It was like a little masochistic, but I was like, this was so much fuel. So what I did is, in my head, I imagined this email that I would write to everybody, which would be kind of like sticking it to them, but at the same time, like masquerading it as, you can do anything because look what I did. And I would write that email the day I made my first sale. And so instead of imagining my first sale, which I did not do this intentionally, this is what happened by default, I was imagining what would be in that email. And I rewrote it to myself in my head, or to these people in my head, every day. Every day I was working, I wrote that. And that sale came in, and the first thing I did after I jumped up and down for like 10 minutes was I wrote that to people. And I was very, kind of like telling them that hard work does pay off, and like I did it and I'm awesome and stuff like that. But
after one sale, that's after really one cute.
Sale, yeah. So that was the beginning of another journey. But there's the answer to that. But however, let's go back to this: what I love, what I'm good at, and what makes money. And whether or not we want to say like, do I love bartending or not? I'm so passionate about bartending. I'm like, I don't even drink today, so like I can't be that passionate about it. But within that, lay the seed for what I was doing, because I love teaching. I love it. And that's what I was doing. I was teaching. So at the very first, I was creating a model for teaching. And I also love business. I love marketing. I love the internet. I love technology. So all of that was in there. Money, obviously, like selling your knowledge, your courses, your coaching, there is seed in that. And that's what we do today. And then what I'm good at, well, I might have been good at bartending, but there was a lot of things that I discovered about myself in that journey that I realized, like, I'm kind of good at this.
Like what? So
video was the first. People would say, it was maybe, this is 2007, 2008. People were like, whoa, how'd you get that video on your interwebs? Like that was a big deal. Right. Like, how do you make it look so good? And I was like, wait, not everybody's doing this. And that's like obviously leapfrogged into the next thing. But I realized I could write pretty well. I learned copy. I picked it up really easily, and I was good at teaching as well. Like I could teach it and people would be like, oh my gosh, this is so thorough. This is so valuable. This is excellent. This is incredible. And so I started discovering what some of my skills were. So you don't have to have it all perfect. You don't have to have stop trying to make the gajillion-dollar business like right out of the gate, and just start with something knowing that it's going to lead you to the next place. But you can't be led to the end destination if you haven't even pulled the car out of the garage. And so I really would recommend, everybody listening, if you're in this situation that Mariella is in, of like, I'm just getting started, is listen, you can spend all day listening to our podcast and to going through every course that there is. There's all the information's out there, but the real wisdom comes from your action, playing on the field, getting in the arena, putting on your armor and getting to work. Getting knocked down, getting bloody, but learning every step of the way because you're doing it. That's it. That's all I got. Mariella, you're awesome. Thank you for submitting the question. I'm James Wedmore.
I'm Phoebe Mroczek.
And we'll see you in the next episode. Are you frustrated that no matter how hard you hustle, no matter how much you get done in a day, you still feel like you have little results to show for it? Do you feel like you're doing everything right, but there's still something missing? Well, what if there was an easier way? What if your business could be fun, effortless, and profitable? Phoebe and I have put together a free audio MP3 for you, compiling the 77 business affirmations for creating success from the inside out. And we want to give it to you absolutely free. This is your chance to rewire your brain for bigger results in your life and your business. To get instant access, absolutely free, simply visit 77affirmations.com. That's the number 77affirmations.com.